So this book here, which is Jerry Seinfeld, Sign Language, which is a book that he wrote probably based on the way he looks from the 90s, 1993. He still has this horrendous, although maybe it's a little different. Anyway, this book was in the autobiography section of my bookstore. My bookstore. Try not to make you dizzy, but and I have been going through it. So now from the top there, not the very top, but here the second row is all biographies, autobiographies, memoirs, all the way down here. And as you can see, I've cleared off 2.5 shelves worth of books that were either I'm going to recategorize, or more likely that books that I don't feel need to be, be in the store. So I cleared out a lot of books to make space for better ones. So these ones down here are not. That's a whole different thing I'm doing over here with the bibliophiles section, but it ends right there. And then there's two whole shelves. So this one was here, and when I pulled it off, I saw that. By the way, this was priced at $10 on the shelf, and I can only imagine how long it's been sitting there. When I opened it up, I saw that on, where is it? Title page. It's signed by Jerry Seinfeld. Yes, that is Jerry Seinfeld's signature. I don't know how the former owner of the store got the book. I don't know if they actually went to a Jerry Seinfeld book signing back in the 90s, which is very possible, or if they just happened to come across it. But they had it for $10 in the store. I looked it up on eBay, and I saw a few copies, more than a few copies. I think it was like half a dozen or so that are signed. Turns out that he did sign quite a few books. And then when I looked at the 90-day sales total, it showed that I believe there was only one that had sold, if I remember correctly. And sort of the range for the books was close to 100, was kind of like 75 and up for most of them. And the challenge was that I saw, number one, I don't think any of the offers were, or any of the listings were taking offers. So they were just set at their price. And number two, the one copy that had sold, the first photo on the listing was actually not of the cover, it was of the signature. So those two things were not happening in the listings, and I assume they're still not happening. So this was the photo, right, of the signature versus just the cover, which was everyone else's photo. So what I decided to do was, number one, put that photo of the signature on the front, or as the first photo when someone's scrolling on their phone or on their computer through their iPad or wherever, through the listings looking for this book, the signed copy of this book. I made it the first photo. So a close-up photo as well, so they could see it clearly. And the second thing I did was I listed it $99.99, and I took offers. So I sold this book for $75. I got a lower offer of $50 the day I listed it, or the next day, I believe. But I countered with 75, and they did not purchase it. But I did get an offer of 75 from the $99.99. I was happy with that. So I took that offer, especially considering this was sitting on the shelf, the bookstore shelf. And thankfully, no one had purchased it for $10, because that would have been a nice flip. And I sold it for 75 plus shipping. So moral of the story is, do your research, and don't forget to do your research. So look up and see what an item is currently selling for, how many listings there are, has it sold any copies in the last 90 days, what did it sell for, take note of photos and images, things like that, because sometimes books that are signed, a lot of the listings, they won't have the first photo. I know I've done a lot of listings with signed copies of books that the first photo is actually not the signature. So just take a note of that. Do some research. It doesn't take very long. I recommend always taking offers. You don't have to accept the offers. You can counter You can decline. I almost always counter, even if it's $100 book and the offer's $20, I'll counter with something much higher, and usually it scares them away. Or they'll counter with another low offer, and I'll just counter with another high offer, and it might be it's not much time, it's a couple seconds to do it. It might be a little bit of a waste of time, but you never know. We might end up settling on a decent price. I've done that before where they started really low, and I was able to raise their price up high enough to where it was worth it for me. This one I just listed. It was already sitting here for the years that I've had the store, and it was worth it for me to sell it quickly and just keep it moving. I mean, because $75 is a great price as far as I'm concerned. So keep that in mind, that research is really important. You should you should know what you're selling. You should know your competition. You should know the good price point to have it at. If I had it at $300, $299.99, or $199.99, then it's probably not going to get much interest. So you got to be realistic about what you can actually sell your items for. As I've been going through books in general in the store, which has been a slow process, but as I went through all of these, I found multiple signed books, a few others I'm going to be putting on eBay, and going to be listing them for a lot more than they were going for here in the store. And it's much more likely that putting them on eBay that they will actually sell or get more interest than here in the store. Plus, the signed copies of stuff are sprinkled throughout the categories instead of having a signed, a section for signed books, or at least displaying them all over. I'm doing that with some of these books. These tend to be a little more, some of them are signed, some of them are more rare, older, collectible. So I'm displaying some of that stuff here in the back so people can take a look, versus them being buried in the different sections, which, if you have a ton of signed books, which apparently the previous owner did, in his personal collection as well, hundreds and hundreds of signed books, many first editions, first printings, things like that, over decades of collecting. There are still some in here that are signed, like this one, which I'm sure you've seen a million copies of, is signed. Frank McCourt signed this one. So I left some signed ones on here that are not worth putting on eBay, and there's a couple more I can see right here that are not worth putting on eBay, that they're not really going to get much money. So I will keep them in this autobiography, memoir section, and see if anyone's going to actually buy them. Sold a few other things on eBay and on Amazon, CD and a book and another book here, but I just wanted to share this one with you to keep your eyes open. I mean, imagine if you would come in here and you saw this for $10, saw it was signed, wouldn't you buy it? After doing research, I probably would have bought it as well. So that's the power of being able to sell nationally and internationally versus just locally. Even having a bookstore like this, we don't have enough people coming in here when we're open to compete at all with, obviously, with eBay or Amazon in some situations as well. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.